Hi and welcome to this getting started video for the Boss GM800 Guitar Synth. Now the first thing I would recommend is installing the latest firmware on your GM800, but also installing the latest software and drivers so that the software works with your computer. So let's have a look at how we do that. Now firstly, updating the GM800 software requires a firmware update that is accessed by the boss.info website. And while you're here, you can actually download all of the respective software that you'll require, including the editor and the drivers required for it to work. So basically, if you click on the support tab on the boss.info website, scroll down to GM800, here it is. Now in here, you'll see the latest firmware, which is this system program. Then there's the Boss Tone Studio, which is the editor, and you can either select a Windows or a Mac OS version. And then you've got different drivers that will work with different versions of Windows or Mac. So I would download, being on a Mac, this driver here, then the Boss Studio for Mac OS, and then the system program. So I've already downloaded them and I've unzipped the compressed files, and I've just got them sitting at the side on my desktop here, ready for use. First of all, let's install the new firmware. Now you will need to format a USB memory stick in the GM800 for it to work correctly. So the first thing we'll do is get our USB stick and then place it in the USB slot at the back of the GM800. Now we're going to format it. So we're going to go into menu and then scroll across until you see USB memory. Okay, click the knob that corresponds with that and then page across until you see format and then press number 1 again. Okay, click OK. And now it's formatting the actual USB stick, which we will then load the new firmware on. Okay, it's completed. So we will now remove the USB stick and we will turn off the GM800. Back over on the computer, just placing the USB stick in my computer. So when your USB stick is identified by the computer, you'll see that it's labeled GM800. So what you want to do, once you've unzipped the GM800 system file, you're going to drag that onto the actual USB stick. Now you'll see that it's loading in and it's done. So now you've got these files in. Now you don't want to alter these or edit them whatsoever. So we're just going to eject the memory stick. And now back over on the GM800. So what we want to do is reconnect the USB stick into the back USB slot of the GM800. And then while holding down the right button, we're going to reconnect the power. And now you can let go of the right button and you can see that it's going through the process of updating the system, and we just let this go. It's very important that you don't disconnect the power from the GM800 while it's going through the update, otherwise it could corrupt your unit. So while the GM800 is going through its update, we may as well install the software that we require. So we've got this USB driver here, and if you double click on the extracted folder, you can see on a Mac you've got a PKG file. If it's on a Windows machine, it will most likely be an exe file. So you want to double click on that and go through the process of installing the driver. Once you've completed the installation, it may prompt you to restart your computer, which I would also recommend. Once you've restarted your computer, then extract the Boss Tone Studio software and go through the same process. Again, Boss Tone Studio is a PKG file for the Mac OS and it'll be an exe file for Windows. And then now you're ready to go. So once your GM800 has finished updating, we can plug it in and now we can edit with the software. Back over on the GM800, you can see that I've got this update succeeded. So we're going to unplug. I'm just going to remove the USB stick and then restart the GM800. Once you've restarted, it'll most likely prompt you to set the auto off function. So we can click setup, and then you can tell it whether you want to set it to 20 minutes, 10 hours, or off. And in this case, I'm just going to set it to off, and then OK. And there you have it. So now we're updated to the latest firmware, and we can connect to the computer with a USB cable and go ahead and start editing. Okay, so when you launch the software for the first time, you'll get this message, terms of use, to accept. And if you haven't previously downloaded and installed the driver, you'll get this message to download the driver. Okay. And there you have it. So you are now editing directly in the software, which will send the sounds straight to the GM800. If you found this video useful, please consider liking and subscribing, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I upload new videos on the Boss GM800.